Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What Do You Mean You've Never Seen, a podcast that explores and analyzes prestigious and popular films that one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Jonathan Colon, and I'm joined as always by my co-hosts, Jennifer Branch.
What's up, people?
And Max Abelman.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us this week is our special guest host, Emily Fox. Hi, Emily.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. And what would you like to tell our audience about yourself?
Well, I work with Jonathan and Max at the Cirque du Soleil show. Am I allowed to say that?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, at the Cirque du Soleil show, Drawn to Life at Disney Springs. Come see us. I'm a wardrobe technician there. Jonathan and I worked together years ago.
2015.
Yeah, on cruise ship stuff. That's how we met. And then our paths crossed again.
How
And
magical.
here we are.
Here we are, living the dream
Yes.
in Orlando, Florida. All right, thank you for joining us, Emily, as we discuss this week's film, A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Yay. We are so excited to be able to do this movie because we didn't think we were going to, because we didn't think we could find anyone who had not seen it. But fortunately for us, Emily has not seen this movie before.
Good job, Emily.
Yay! You're all welcome.
So yes, Emily has watched this movie for the first time. Let's get right into it. League of Their Own was released in 1992, directed by Penny Marshall, screenplay by Lowell Gans and Babalu Mondel, and starring Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna, Lori Petty, John Lovitz, Rosie O'Donnell, David Strathairn, Gary Marshall, and Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
All-star cast.
I was just about to
Yes.
say that.
All-stars.
I mean, in the 90s, this was like the best collection of people you could get.
Oh, 100%.
All right,
Yeah.
and Jennifer is going to give us a plot description.
Okay, so A League of Their Own takes place during World War II when a lot of the men are getting drafted into war. And so the women have to go to work to replace all the jobs that the men are doing. And one of them that they have to do is to play professional baseball because, you know, a bunch of bigwigs decided they don't want baseball to be shut down. So basically it follows the story mostly of these two sisters from Oregon who joined the Rockford Peaches. And they have a coach, Jimmy Dugan, played by Tom Hanks, who was a former baseball player and is now a drunk, basically. And this is kind of his last chance to redeem himself to be a coach of the girls team. And he doesn't really want to do it, but he reluctantly does. And then sure enough, he starts getting into it. The team all comes together. But because the two sisters are fighting, the younger sister gets traded to a different team, ends up on the opposite team who they play in the World Series, and she ends up winning the game. So the older sister, Dottie, loses the game.
Yes.
Pretty
so
much that's it. It's basically just following their adventures on this professional baseball team.
And this is a very culturally significant film. The There Is No Crying in Baseball scene has been, you know, on a bunch of lists of famous quotes and,
Right.
and like AFI's top 100 movie quotes and stuff like that. And it was a very sizable big hit at the time. It was made for a budget of $40 million and it made $132.4 million in 1992.
Wow.
Really launched Rosie O'Donnell's acting career. It sort of cleaned up Madonna's acting career.
Yeah, it was a big movie.
It was a big opportunity for her to be a serious actress again, and of course, you know, Gina Davis had already won an Oscar, and Lori Petty, of course, went on to do some really weird stuff. And
Tom Hanks. I
Hanks-
think you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, I believe, won an Academy Award the next year, and then the year after that. So this
I
was
think
like,
Philadelphia and Forrest Gump were 93 and 94.
Yeah.
So.
I think this is the first and only movie I have seen where Tom Hanks plays like the antagonist, like where he's like a
he's
bad
not
person.
likable at first.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, when he was like cursing and like spitting, I was like, who is this? Tom Hanks is America's sweetheart. What's happening? I like couldn't accept it.
no, this was definitely a stretch for him. This was very different from the roles he had played up until this
Yeah.
point.
Like all of
He's
his, all
not
of the
playing like a
yelling.
romantic lead. He's not playing
Yeah.
like a lovable goofball. Like he's playing
A
like
cowboy.
an old drunk, you know,
Yeah.
mean guy who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, he's like it's
Yeah.
like a role that like Walter Matthau or Robert Duvall would play.
It's very reminiscent of like Walter, like Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much like that.
Yeah, very much. Just looking at the AFI list, Jimmy Dugan's There's No Crying in Baseball line was ranked 54th on the American Film Institute's 2005 list, AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movie Quotes. So, and, you know, you talk
Didn't
to
break the
anybody...
top 50. So close.
So close. But you talk to any sports enthusiast, the No Crying in Baseball line has gone even beyond this movie. And it's
Oh, yeah.
something that they say like on
It's one of those
broadcasts and
things
stuff.
where if you're not like a big fan of this movie, but like you might not even know where that quote is from, but you know the quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no crying.
Yeah, there's so many quotes like that. Like I was playing a game with my old roommate and her family one time. It was like a Blockbuster movie game. And like I always tell Jonathan, I've never seen like any famous movies. And every time there would be a quote like that, or like, you know, there's no crying in baseball, or like, what's the Hannibal quote? He puts the lotion on the skin. I've never seen that movie, but I know where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I kept like getting all of those quotes, and I was like, oh, I've never seen that movie. And they were like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, they're just famous
If you're
quotes.
just know
Yeah.
culturally relevant stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like it gets into the zeitgeist, and even
Exactly.
people who haven't watched the movie or aren't familiar with the movie have probably heard that line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what qualifies it. And the fact that it was a very big financial success, especially for a film directed by a woman.
Right.
Oh.
And then one of the
A sports
reasons
movie, too.
why we wanted to do this too is they are coming out with a new TV show on Amazon Prime based on this movie.
Oh,
So
I
we're
did hear
excited
about
to
that.
30
Yes.
years ago, the movie came out, and now we're getting an Amazon Prime TV
Yes.
show.
Yes.
And we will be reviewing each episode of
I
that
can't-
show.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
so excited.
It seems like the
Because
trend.
this is maybe the first movie that we've done that I know back and forth 100% of the movie. I've seen this movie so many times. You know, most of these movies I either haven't seen at all or maybe I've seen once. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
this is the first movie we've done so far that like this is one of my movies. You know, especially
Yeah.
like me and Jonathan grew up watching this movie. I probably watch this movie 3 times a year at least.
Yeah. This movie came out July 1st of 1992 was the release date. So it was during the summer, the year that it came out. I was 12 years old. And
Also, it just had its 30th
yeah,
anniversary.
30th anniversary just a couple of weeks ago. My brother Peter and I would ride our bikes to the movie theater, and we did this probably 3 or 4 times. I think I saw it 5 times in its original release. Ride our bikes to the movie theater so we could watch it again, because that's how much we liked it.
That's so cute.
Oh.
Yeah. Jennifer wasn't there because she's too young.
Yeah, I was
She wouldn't have
maybe
ridden her
only
bike that far.
6 at the time, but once the movie came out on video, heavy rotation in our
Oh
house,
yeah,
for
we
sure.
had the VHS when it first came out. I think we even bought it on DVD when DVDs became a thing.
Right.
So yeah, this movie has a tremendous amount of cultural impact, and this recording will be released the same week that the new TV show on Amazon Prime premieres. So clearly, people are still interested in this. So that's why we wanted to do it. All right, let's talk about what we knew or think about the movie. And Emily, since you're our first-time viewer, we're going to ask you first. What did you know about the movie prior to your watch? How much did you know about the plot? Did you know who was in it? What did you know about it?
Honestly, I didn't know a lot about it. I knew the like there's no crying in baseball thing. I knew for some reason like the outfits they wear are so iconic. And of course working in costuming, I guess that's something that I just personally notice about movies and stuff. So I've always just seen their iconic skirts or dresses that they wear, and that like Tom Hanks was in it. That's like pretty much all I knew about it. And also a lot of people dress like them for Halloween. I feel like I've seen a lot of Halloween costumes.
I've done the Rockford Peaches
Yeah,
costume.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Seeing that, like I could see that outfit and know where it came from. But yeah, I really didn't know anything about the movie. I had no idea that it was the whole like Rosie the Riveter kind of like all the guys left for war and they wasn't any sports and you know that kind of thing. Yeah, I didn't know that was the premise of it, which I thought was really cool. And I was so impressed by the actresses that they got to play baseball. Even just like all of the action shots, they were all so good.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of history behind that. They actually trained for over 7 months, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week at baseball.
Yeah.
Like Penny Marshall, it was really important to her that like they're not just like actresses and using a lot of body doubles or things
Yes.
like that. They
That's what I
could
loved
play,
about it.
and having to play baseball was part of their auditions.
Mm.
So it was really important for her to get it like authentic. And you watch it, and these are like they're playing baseball.
Yes.
They're not.
Oh my
acting like
gosh.
they're playing baseball.
It was, yeah. And I grew up, my dad was in like an adult league. My brother played Little League and like was in a travel team. So I grew up playing baseball, being at baseball games, watching baseball. Like I love it. And so I was actually like really impressed at the women that were playing in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very
even
cool.
that shot of Rosie throwing 2 balls at once, that's not a special effect. That's a real shot of her doing that because
Wow.
she learned from one of the ladies that was actually in the professional league, taught her how to do that because that was like her trick that she used to do back in the 40s. So.
Well, and
That's really cool.
I always love, and I've watched the YouTube clip of this probably a million times, when Gina Davis catches the ball with her bare hand.
Oh, so-
Yes.
Just is like,
And she,
now
again,
what?
It's a real effect. It's not
Yeah.
a trick. Like
Yeah.
they're really playing. They're really doing that. They're really catching and throwing and hitting the ball. All of it's real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So for Jennifer and Max, whoever wants to speak up, how did you feel about rewatching it?
I was so happy. I was like, yay! a movie I love and just like know I'm gonna like and gonna smile the whole way through. And I watched it with my daughter, and she's started to become a big fan of this movie too. So this movie just makes me so happy. I love every bit of it, all of it.
Yeah, I liked rewatching it. It was really fun. It's always a fun movie. I'm not as into it as the rest of you. It wasn't a part of my childhood. It wasn't like a big deal. So
We
it's
get
not
it.
like,
You're young.
yeah. So I would,
Same.
but
Same.
still, like it was a popular movie. It just like I don't have that kind of a connection to it. I wouldn't watch it 3 times a year, but once a year, totally. Yeah, it's always fun. It's acted amazingly, and it has great lines all over the place. It's not boring at all. Not even like there's slow parts and fast parts. It's all like interesting.
Yeah.
Which is good. It holds your attention. It really holds up.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this for probably like the 100th or something time, and I still enjoy it every bit as much as I did the first time I watched it. It ages so well, and it's because it's a period movie, it's timeless.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not like, oh my god, those horrible 80s fashions or 90s fashions. I'm always happy to watch it.
Yeah.
And even if you're like not in the best mood when you start watching it, by the end of it, you will be in a good mood.
This is totally a comfort movie for me.
Absolutely.
This is a movie I watch if I'm sick or if I'm just not in a bad mood or if I just like want to put something on that I like, but I'm not really going to pay attention to it like I'm doing with other stuff. This is that kind of movie for me.
For me, this movie is very much on par with, and I know I'm probably the biggest fan of it, of the three of us. Sleepless in Seattle and this are kind of like the same on that level for me. It's like if you're ever like just want to sit down
It's like a cozy
with a cup of soup and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what it was like to watch it. So we want to get, first of all, Emily's thoughts. Your thoughts and impression on the film. Was it an interesting watch, and what stood out about it for you? And if you have anything to say about the length, the pace, and we've already talked about action, but if you have more talk about action.
Yes.
I kind of felt the same way about it being like a comfort movie. It wasn't like there wasn't a lot of like ups and downs and like crazy things happening, like drama. It was just kind of, just like made you feel good. Like, oh, this is a nice story. I also didn't know it was like based on true people. We were talking about this the other day. I didn't realize that it was, obviously based on truth in the fact that like, the men were at war and they needed women to play baseball. Like that actually happened. But I didn't realize that the women were actually based on real people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool. I love movies like that too, where they do the whole thing at the end, where they have like the pictures of the women that were in the movie and then the pictures of the women that were like the real women or whoever, they were depicting or whoever they were supposed to represent. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And at the end, when they all went to the Hall of Fame, I've never been to the Baseball Hall of Fame and I think it would be so cool. But now I like want to go even more because I didn't know they had that whole women in baseball thing.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Oh, the other thing too, I feel like kind of dumb, but it honestly took me a minute to realize that the older women in the beginning and the end were different people. They did such a good job casting them.
Yeah.
I literally had to look it up. I was like, that old age makeup is really good.
Right. No,
and then I was like, no, oh my God.
They did
look
something that I've literally, and I've never seen this in another movie. If they do it in another movie, I'm not aware of it. But they did something totally different. And that was to cast an older actress that looked like Gina Davis, but have Gina Davis speak for her. So it's Gina Davis's voice coming out of an older lady.
Interesting.
Which I have never seen in any other movie. And I don't know why they don't do it more often. Because in this movie, they nail it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh,
and
for sure.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like maybe they've gotten lazy, but like it's so distracting when it's a clearly young actress or actor and they put all this old age makeup on them or the CGI thing like doesn't do it for me. And it's so distracting, but obviously it's not that hard because they had a lot of women that they had to recast as older and they did such a good job.
Yeah.
To the point where, like I said, I was like, is that her? Is that old age makeup? That's really good old age makeup.
Yeah.
And then I had to look it up on like IMDb. I looked and I was like, oh no, it's this person playing the older version. And it was so good. I was so impressed by that.
Yeah,
too.
no, it is really cool. And a lot of the extras and stuff in that scene are the actual baseball players from the 1940s.
Oh, cool.
So
I
like,
didn't know that.
and then at the end scene where you see them actually playing,
Yeah.
those are players from the real league.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that was cool. Yeah, and I also thought the humor was kind of funny. Especially,
hilarious.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I was cracking up. I didn't think it was going to be that funny. I'm a very like goofy humor type of person, and I feel like there was a lot of that. I died when the bus driver left the bus. First of all, because I'm like, where are you going?
Right.
He's like, I quit, and he just started walking. They're in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, where are you going to go?
Right.
And then when the manager or whoever, their chaperone, I don't know who that woman
The
is.
chaperone, yeah.
Yeah.
When she starts following him and then it cut to them like, what's going on? And then it cut back to them and all you see is him pick up a handful of dirt and throw throw it in her face. I died. I was like, what is happening?
It's so funny. I love that scene.
Oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous, but it was so funny.
But you're right. Where is he going?
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
bye,
I was like, they're going to get on the bus and Jimmy Dugan's going to drive drunk and they're going to drive right past him.
Right.
Because he's also
Yeah.
walking the direction they were going.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, what's the plan now?
Maybe he's gonna hitchhike on a different
Yeah.
bus. I don't know. But yeah.
Oh, yes. How about you, Max? Let's hear from you about your experience of what it was like to watch this movie.
I mean, it's always good. It's always good. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like paying like the most close attention to it this time around just because I don't know. I felt distracted in this viewing, but it's great to tune into. There's just so much in it that's great to watch that it's hard to get too terribly distracted from it anyways. It's amazing. It's every step of the way. It's a great story from start to finish. Keeps your interest from the very beginning and then cut to the past where they're just on a farm. Like, this movie sort of goes everywhere and it's kind of great. There's not that many settings per se, but it hops around a lot. There's just the beginning with what's his face just being a wisecracker, assembling the girls together. It's sort of a crazy movie.
for that
Yeah.
role.
He was so good. And you see him in other things, but this is like his ultimate form of doing
John
that.
Lovitz, you're talking about.
Yeah.
John Lovitz. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like his ultimate form of doing that without it being sort of too harsh because he comes off as a bit crazy in other films. I think this is like Chef's Kiss. Mwah, like, let's do
I
this.
feel like there are so many performances in this movie where it's like, this is clearly the quintessential performance of fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Like Rosie O'Donnell, quintessential
Absolutely.
performance.
Oh
John
my
Lovitz.
gosh, absolutely.
Gary Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
love
John
Gary Marshall.
Lovitz is the only actor in this movie who the part was written for him.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh.
yes. The part was written for John Lovitz, and obviously he nails it.
Yeah.
Perfect. I have no notes.
Flawless.
100% perfect.
And I'm like, I was paying attention this time because the scene where he goes to recruit Dottie and Kit, and then he's leaving, and the cow moos behind him, and he turns around, and he's like, "Well, you shut up!" And I was wondering, I wonder if that was improvised because
Probably.
they could not possibly have gotten
Yeah.
that cow because the cow turns its head and moos at him.
Right.
They couldn't possibly have trained a cow to do that, right?
I mean, John
That
Lovitz is a
maybe.
great improviser, so probably just
Yeah.
improv it. You
Yeah.
know, he was just in the zone in this character.
Oh, yeah.
He just embodies
Yeah.
it perfectly.
But that's the scene where they're milking the cows and he's just giving them so much shit. It's so perfect. And when Dottie stands up, puts her hands on her hips, and she's like, "You know something? You're not nice." And he's like, "Ooh, that one hurt."
There is not a single word of dialogue out of his mouth that is not perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why he didn't win an Oscar for this.
He's in the movie for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's like he's so memorable, and he just
Yeah.
every single line he says is funny.
And his
Every single
character
line.
and his character isn't very likable per se,
Oh,
but
no.
but those lines though. Those
Yeah, his
lines.
line reading.
though,
Even
is
his exit from the
insane.
movie, like the last thing he says is like, what does he say? He's like, I hate it when they get attached to me or something. It's so
Yeah.
perfect. And then he's just like mic drop and walks out of the movie and
Yeah.
we never see him for the rest of the movie.
It's like, you're going to be thinking about me after I'm gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk about some of the other characters then. Who's got a favorite character other than John Lovitz's character?
Well, I really want to talk about Helen. I don't think
Helen.
she gets enough love.
She gets all the hate, actually.
She gets all the hate. If you've seen this movie as much as Jonathan and I have, you really start to notice how pretty much anytime anyone's talking to Helen, they're just telling her to shut up.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
like, shut up, Helen, shut up, Helen.
Is she the one with the son?
No, she's the one that was discovered that the girl couldn't read.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's very much, Helen's character is very much like matter of fact, very trying to be organized, very, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like A-type sort of personality.
Mm.
And she's always positive.
You're right. Yeah.
She's always like, oh, well, and she...
She's very much, look at the bright side. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know? What are they, like toxic positivity sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah. But I really like her because she's the only one that discovers Shirley can't read. Like, poor Shirley is about to have a freaking mental breakdown and she's just crying. And Helen's the only one who comes to her rescue and she's so heroic in that moment. And, I don't think Helen gets enough love. I don't even know the actress's name, if I'm being honest.
Oh, her name is Anne Ramsey.
Okay.
She was
she's great.
famous
I love
later.
Helen.
She was in.
Justice for Helen.
She played the sister in Mad About You after this.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
She does. She's very Helen Hunty. So
Yeah.
if she was that. If she played
She was
His sister, I take
She's
it, right?
Helen, yeah. She's
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
Helen
sense.
Hunt's replacement in this movie because Helen Hunt is in the movie.
Right. No,
Yeah,
she's
it's like
great in
this
this.
movie has all the women from that era except for Helen Hunt and Meg Ryan.
Right. Right. You can easily plug them in other places too. But yeah, so justice for Helen and justice for Marla. You know, poor Marla just getting called ugly all the time.
Yeah.
And she's not that ugly.
And then
She
she-
just needs to move her hair out of her face
And
and,
then she
lift
gets-
her eyes a little bit.
She gets
She's
booted
fine.
out of the movie like in a montage in the middle. Doesn't get to play in the World
No.
Series.
Yeah, that was weird. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, she's married. I'm so happy for her. Look at her. Like, she lives happily ever after. And then she just doesn't
come
show
back.
up again.
Yeah, by the
I was
end
like,
of
what?
the movie, the Rockford Peaches are down like 4 players at least.
Yeah.
Because they
Mm.
lose Helen. They lose...
No, they don't lose Helen.
I'm sorry,
Marla.
not Helen. They lose Marla. They lose Betty Spaghetti because
Yeah.
her husband dies. Poor Betty
Aw,
Spaghetti.
Betty
Yeah.
Spaghetti.
They lose Kit. They say she's a trade, but I don't see who gets added to the team, so I don't know how that's a trade.
Yeah.
You know, they just get rid of Kit. And they lose Dottie for a while, so they're down a lot of players.
Yeah.
at
Of
one
course,
point.
well, that's why they lost so many games in the first 6 of the World Series because they were down all of those people.
all the good
Yeah.
players have left. Yeah.
And Alice, you know.
I feel like that's one of
Oof.
those complicated things where you're trying, like when you try and make a movie about something that really happened. And so like all those people did leave, but they can't, like the movie would be so long if you went and it followed every single person who had to leave for whatever reason and like have their own little mini story. And so they were just like, okay, they're gone. It is what
Bye.
it
Yeah.
is.
And
On
they
that
can't really.
note, the original cut of this movie is over 4 hours.
Oh,
Wow.
My gosh.
So in that 4-hour version, you get a lot more backstory
yeah.
of all the characters. You get to learn more about Dottie and Bill Pullman. Originally, Dottie and Tom Hanks are supposed to kind of be an item and get together or have an affair or something like
Or a
that, which I
flirtation,
think
yeah.
would have been horrible.
Ruined it.
yes.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
going to
glad they
say,
didn't do that.
I love that there wasn't any of that.
There's not a romantic
Yeah.
storyline in this at all.
Yes.
Really, I mean, I guess unless you count Marla and her husband, but that's very, very much on
And
the
I
side.
loved I loved what they did with Dottie and her husband, where like they kind of hinted at the fact that like Tom Hanks, you know, maybe had a crush on her and was like thinking like, who is this guy? Like
Yeah.
he's probably a joker. You deserve better, whatever. But then when her husband shows up, like it was a happy moment, and then she did leave, but then she came back. And one of my favorite parts in the movie is when what is the play? She does like the big play. Was it
She catches the
She-
ball behind her back.
no, in the dugout?
no,
she like
she
falls into the dugout.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And it pans over to her husband and he's like, that's my wife. I loved
Yeah.
that because I was like, oh, are they going to do this whole thing where they break up because she wants to play baseball and he doesn't support it? But no, it's such a sweet
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
that
They
he's
did it right.
supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the deleted sort of storylines is that they were apparently dating for 5 years, maybe on and off, maybe didn't have a great relationship, and then got married right before he got shipped off to war. So
Oh.
that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit if you think about like, oh, well, maybe they just got married out of convenience.
Yeah. And when
And
she was
then
so
she
on
could
edge
have
the whole
something
time.
with Tom Hanks, but I'm glad they didn't do that. I feel like that would have ruined the movie. But that'll be interesting to see in the TV series what we get. 'Cause I
Yeah.
don't even know if it's going to be the same characters, but it'll be interesting to see because we know that there was so much more to the story that didn't get told.
Yeah.
I think the TV show is a good way to kind of round that out. Some of the
Yeah.
and some of the other women. I want to learn more about Betty Spaghetti and what's going on with her. So there's a lot to learn there.
Yeah.
And Betty Spaghetti is played by Penny Marshall's daughter.
Yes. That is
Her
true.
daughter with
And
Rob
she made
Reiner.
her audition for the role.
Yeah.
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 She didn't just hand it to her. It's not a nepotism. Director.
Mm-hmm.
She made her audition for the role. That's funny.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one that didn't have to audition was John Lovitz, apparently. That role was handed to him. Everybody else had to audition.
Yes. So yeah, anybody else have any favorite characters or character moments they want to talk about?
Well, you gotta give it to Rosie O'Donnell just all the way through. It's
Oh, she's great.
despite the great one-liner, she's just always there in the background going rah, 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 baseball stuff. And it's like between her and Tom Hanks just going rah, baseball, rah,
Yeah.
baseball, and it's just like both of you go, keep going, keep
And I
going.
love the
at it.
scene with her dancing with Madonna.
Yes.
Like, it's so great.
It's so good. And Madonna is like cutting it up out there,
Yes,
and that's
Madonna
all
is
really
amazing.
her, right?
That's
Dancer.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
And in that like scene, there's like her sort of a throwaway joke where she's just like, yeah, she danced in the club and I was the bouncer.
Yeah.
It's just like great.
that makes
Vinny's
sense.
Dance
Oh.
Girls Deluxe.
Yes.
And then the
that
dad
is
shows
creepy.
up and he's gonna take her for a steak dinner.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe
He's-
he redeemed himself
he
from
buys-
some creepy club that Madonna had to dance for
And
10 cents.
he buys those scalp tickets for $10.
I should have looked up how much that is in today's.
It's probably like
It's a lot.
probably like
$1,000.
$100. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably at least $100.
Especially during the war. Yeah, and I love I actually really like Madonna in this movie. I think it's the most I've ever liked her in anything she's ever done.
Yeah,
You know?
I like
she
her too.
looks
She did a really
amazing,
good
too.
job.
Yeah.
She looks
Mhm.
the best I think that
She-
she's ever looked.
Yeah, she looks so good with the dark hair.
I was just gonna say that she's a great brunette.
Yeah.
She looks really good. as
and
a
because she's
brunette.
got blue eyes, so that's very striking. You know,
Yeah.
like people with brown hair and blue eyes, it's like you were like, whoa, what is that? But yeah, her character is really fun to watch, and she and Rosie are like the best comedy duo. It's a real shame that they've never like done anything else together because they're like
they
they're
have great chemistry.
friends in real life.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
I also like that it was funny. Like you said, it was a period piece, but like she's supposed to be like the slutty one, but it was still in a cute way. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like too much.
Well, they call it out, but they're like in like a loving, joking way. They're not shaming her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
and they're like cheering her on while she's dancing with all the guys, but
Yeah.
it's like fun dancing. It's not like
It's not like get a load of this, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when she's painting the girl's nails, I feel like back then that would be like a slutty thing to do because she was like, "Is it okay? Is your sister okay with me doing this?" And she's like, "I don't care." And like I just thought that was such a wholesome like little interaction.
What if my bosoms come out? And Rosie's like, you think there's men in this country who haven't seen your bosoms?
Yeah.
which
Oh my
totally
gosh.
feels like a meta Madonna line.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right?
so
It's
funny.
like that she wasn't saying that to me. She was saying that to Madonna.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, and when
A
Rosie
little
goes and like
Easter egg in there.
dives for the ball in the crowd and then comes up with a hot dog
The
in her
hot
mouth.
dog, so
Oh,
great.
it's so good.
Oh my god, I love it.
Oh, and we have to talk about the best moment of this movie for me is when Tom Hanks throws the mitt at Stillwell and knocks him down.
I thought you were gonna say when Ellen Sue throws the ball at the guy, which is
Oh,
almost just as
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And she's like, it slipped.
People throwing stuff at people in this movie is great.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's the
But
best
yes,
with the
knock
little
it
boy
out
because it
Stillwell.
just hits him right in the face.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so good.
And then what's even better is Tom Hanks's reaction. He is so proud of himself for doing it. He's like, yeah!
Well, and the way he was like shot in those scenes where it almost feels like he's being shot as if he's in a horror movie, but he's doing comedy, where it's just like close-ups on his face doing like weird stuff because he's doing some weird face work and like the scenes leading up to him throwing them in.
He's like
in his
talking to
face.
himself.
Yeah.
He's like, "We're gonna win."
And it's like really, it's like
he's
really
With the
manic.
bug eyes,
Yeah.
too. His eyes are always like
his
bugging
eyes are
out.
crazy. He's like his face is going insane leading up to that. It's like crazy to watch.
Two things I want to talk about while we're talking about Tom Hanks. So this was, I watched it with the closed caption because I was like, I know every line of this movie. Like, what am I going to get out of it this time? But I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it with the closed caption. Maybe there's stuff I missed, which happens sometimes. And one of them was when, after the scene where they're giving the signs to Marla and, you know, he's like, who's the goddamn manager? I am, you know, and she hits the ball and he's like, I never noticed, but he does go, yeah, way to go, whatever your name is. And it's like very quiet, and if you don't have the closed caption on, you miss it. And then the other one is with the umpire when he gets in the fight with the umpire, and
Yep.
like as he's kicking him out, he goes, I can't believe no one ever called you that before.
Oh, you never heard that before? I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of
I
that.
mean, I know he says in the beginning, like, anyone ever tell you look like, but then he goes, I can't believe no one ever called you that before.
Yeah, well, and so many. If anyone's ever seen the movie A Christmas Story, there's this recurring gag in that movie where the father curses, but because it's a family-friendly movie and the kid is not supposed to hear the bad stuff he's saying, it's always like, "Rah, rah, rah," like
Yeah,
it's just like
nonsense,
gibberish.
yeah.
And so much of Tom Hanks's dialogue is just him screaming nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes it's just left up to your interpretation what he's saying. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like drunk man.
Yeah, like when he
Is
comes
that
off
English?
when he comes off the bus and he yells at them, and they're like, "What did he say? Was that English?" He's like,
Oh, I love when he's when they're in church and he's like, "Come on, girls!" And then God knows we have a game. And then later on, when he's during that montage, which I think is one of the best movie montages ever, where they're they're starting to get more people in the audience. And like by the end, like if
Oh,
they
yeah.
start with nobody in the stands, and by the end of the montage, it's like an entire stadium is full of cheering people. When he's like, come on, girls, dozens of people are waiting for the game to start.
The thing about this movie is like it's almost set up in like vignettes, you know? It's like each scene kind of stands alone, you know, like I mean there is a plot per se, but it's more like, well, now this is like the club at the dance club scene, and then this is like a montage about getting more people in the stand, and this is a montage about the World Series, and this is a montage about Tom Hanks learning to actually enjoy being their coach. It's a lot of vignettes of a movie that is just one cohesive sort of thing, but you know, because it has so many characters, you know, it's hard to say that it's super plot driven because it's not really.
And Tom Hanks's character really has sort of the hero's journey in this movie. You know, he starts off being very reluctant to be there, and by the end he's like a champion for these girls and wants them to be successful.
Turns down another job to stay with them.
Yeah. Whereas like the main character arguably is Gina Davis's character. She doesn't really change that much. She just sort of like learns to accept the fact that she can do something besides just be a wife and future mother. But then of course she leaves the team and doesn't come back and becomes a wife and mother, and that's all she does. Just getting to admit like it's okay for this to be important, because the whole movie she spends is like, oh, I don't really care about this, you know, I'm just doing this for my sister, I'm just doing this while my husband's overseas.
It's just a game.
It's just a game. And I love, you know, and I'm sure most baseball enthusiasts appreciate this as well. I love when the confrontation the two of them have when she's about to leave, and he goes, it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great.
Yeah.
And like, who has ever, in any career you've ever had, who has ever needed to hear that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I certainly have.
Yeah.
It's really good. Do you guys think she dropped the ball on purpose? Because that is a big thing that people talk about.
I think she did.
It's a tough one. I don't know.
I think she did.
Maybe, I think she felt bad about, because, you know, she exploits Kit's weakness.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, you know,
But
you really
also,
shouldn't do that.
That is it's a little cheating, right?
It
A
is,
little bit,
yeah.
because she's known her whole life, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't even something that she learned about a player by watching them in this league.
Right.
Like, she knew that from way before. So it maybe is a little bit of cheating, right?
Yeah, it's
I
kind
felt like she had a moment where and it makes sense. It also makes sense for her leaving the team, like you said, to like become a wife and a mother. I feel like she had this realization, this moment that she was like, I care about this, but I will never care about it as much as she does. And so I need to let her have this moment because she needs it. I don't need it. That's how I felt like her mindset was.
Yeah. And
Like, that's why I think she did it on purpose, because she enjoys it, obviously, and it's something she cares about. But her sister, it's like her entire being. Like, she needs this moment, as opposed to like she would enjoy this moment, or this would be a great moment for her. It's like she needs this moment. So that's why I felt like she did it for her sister and like dropped it on purpose.
Right. And well, and when you think about it, it's not like it's Dottie's fault they lost the World Series. She wasn't even there till Game 7. Like, they could have won before she got there.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
actually,
They can't blame it on
it's
her.
really Evelyn's fault, because she's the one that allowed
Evelyn
that first run to
screwed
get
it up,
in.
and that's the
Yes.
same mistake she made that she already got yelled at for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Evelyn, come on, get
Oh,
your
and
crap together.
when
girl.
he calls her over during that game, and you can see
Oh
him
my God,
trying to
that
control
was
his
so
rage.
good. That was
just brilliant acting.
It's almost
so good.
He's like,
he's
I'm
shaking.
gonna need you to
He
work
is
on that
trembling.
before next season.
You could almost see like fumes coming out of his eyes.
Flames on the side of his face.
Steam coming out of his ears.
Yeah, and then you see him like he has to like wind down
Yes.
afterwards because he's
so
it's like he's just going to
worked up.
explode.
Right.
So good.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about the fact that Dottie is like a true badass during her last at bat.
Oh yeah.
The way Gina Davis just nails it.
Well,
the
you
way
see
she walks to the
Brenda's
plate.
face. Brenda is
Brenda's
terrified.
like, let's do it. And she sees Gina Davis. She's like, oh.
Brenda is terrified of Dottie, which
Oh,
she should
Which
be.
I think Brenda is the true villain of this movie. And the way she hits that ball right at Kit's face.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was no accident.
Like,
she knows
But
exactly
and again,
what she's doing.
and Lori Petty's acting in that scene is phenomenal too, because you can just see all of the emotions coming across her face, and she is absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
Her acting without saying anything is incredible.
Yeah.
The entire time she was at bat, well, even before that, like you said, like she was freaking out, and she goes into the dugout and she's having, and this actually, that scene where she's sitting in the dugout and before she goes up to bat for the last time, it kind of reminded me of her character in Orange is the New Black.
Oh,
because
yeah?
she's very anxious and compulsive. And so the way that she was acting that, and I like felt that. I was like,
Yeah.
I've been there. Like that kind of anxiety of working yourself up. And then she has to go to bat. Just the look on her face and like the tears in her eyes. She's not saying a word, and I know exactly how she feels right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That whole scene was so good, the way that she acted that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
just brilliant.
That whole last game is just, you're just on the edge of your seat. Like,
Even
the
if you're
whole
watching it for the 100th time.
Even
yeah.
though you know exactly what's going to happen.
every time I'm like, she's gonna hold on to it this time. Oh, she didn't.
No. And when Rosie's like, that looked good to me, Ellen Sue. That looked good to me.
Aw.
When the ball's in the dirt.
Oh my god.
And
Rosie's
then
amazing.
just when she's screaming, one more.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so exciting. It's just like they care so much, you know?
Yes.
And it's like this is their time to shine. And you think about it back in the day, it's like this is all they have to prove that they are strong, powerful women because they probably don't have careers at home. Like if anything, like Kit and Dottie work at a dairy doing God knows what, you know, milking cows and stuff. It's like, and I feel like most of these girls come from backgrounds like that, you know, like none of them really talk about having a career outside of this. This is like all they have and all they care about, you know, and especially the ones that aren't married or, you know, anything like that. It's like, this is their life and
Yeah.
they care so much. And it's so good to see because you see movies like that with men all the time, you know,
Yeah.
so, but this is a movie not only about women in the 1940s. It's really inspiring. It really is.
very much. Anybody else have any other characters or events they want to talk about?
You know what else scene I love? The beauty school or whatever. Or
Oh,
the,
yes.
Oh,
the
yeah.
finishing school. When she's like, a lady reveals nothing. Kid just cracks up laughing. Oh, that whole scene is so good. And I don't know if we can just cut to this segment, but the movie called out the eyebrows for me. I didn't even have to talk
I
about
thought of you when they said that.
I was so excited. I was like, maybe this is why I care so much about eyebrows.
Oh,
because
yeah.
this movie was
Origin
very important to me
story.
growing up.
Yes.
And I was like,
Now you have a complex about eyebrows because you're scared that
Exactly.
some mean finishing school lady is going to come up to you.
I was
I
like,
hate
this
it
was
when that
a
happens.
seminal point in my childhood watching this and realizing how important your eyebrows are.
Yes.
And speaking of eyebrows, that lady's eyebrows are crazy pants.
Oh, yeah.
She's got these bright
Well,
red
and
high arches.
she's
It's
got,
very
like,
scary.
She must have like 800 teeth in her head.
Yeah.
Like her mouth is so huge, and
That
she's got
lady's
that bright
wild.
red lipstick on. She looks like it's like the Joker's mom.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
This is
yeah.
a Joker origin
Oh,
story.
Yeah, it does look like the Joker. I mean, but she's not wrong about Alice's eyebrows. Alice's
Yeah.
eyebrows were insane.
And Betty, she's
She
right
could
about
be-
Betty's hair too.
Yeah, Betty's hair could have been better. So she's not wrong about anything she says, you know. So, you know.
But the four
Props
people
to
that
that
she
lady.
says are fine are Taya Leone,
Uh-huh.
Lori Petty, Gina Davis, and then Ellen Sue, whoever
Yeah.
plays Ellen Sue.
Ellen Sue, who's
What
like
about
the beauty
Madonna?
queen.
She didn't get any critique?
She didn't. She wasn't in that segment.
part.
Yeah.
She wasn't in
Oh.
that scene. Yeah. But I'm sure
And
she
neither
did.
was Rosie.
Madonna looks perfect. The
Yeah.
whole movie. Like what?
Yeah.
No notes.
No
She looks
notes.
amazing.
Okay, yeah, the beauty school. I always think of beauty school dropout, but yeah, the charm school thing, and that woman is like so nuts. And
Right.
of course, Kid starts laughing because she sounds ridiculous. A lady reveals nothing.
I love that kids just like, this is stupid. I don't even care. Like, I'm just gonna laugh.
When they're sipping tea and Rosie's like eating the cookies.
that would be me.
Yeah.
That I felt from
Yes.
Rosie.
And Kit was like, "Stop
I'd be
that."
like, those cookies are good. No, no.
Yeah, I love the parts where they just have camaraderie between the women. I like that Kit and Dottie's quote unquote rivalry is because they're sisters. It's not because, like, this movie isn't like pitting women against each other. you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
It's not like, oh, there's a bunch of women, so obviously they're going to be catty and bitchy and they're going to be talking shit about each other. Like, they all support each other. And, Kit and Dottie's issues are really coming out of Kit's insecurity. It's not even
Yeah.
like Dottie's, Dottie's not a bully. She's
It's
not.
Dottie and
trying
Dottie's
to-
sister, so, you know.
Here's our other daughter, Dottie's sister.
Yeah, and you get it because that 100% is a thing, like where parents have a golden child and a, scapegoat child. And you can tell that Kit is overly insecure, but it doesn't come out of nowhere. Like, she has reasons for feeling the way
Right.
she does.
But it's the important thing is that Dottie is not doing anything to her.
No, it's not Dottie's
And
fault.
Dottie is very professional when it comes to the baseball stuff. She doesn't play favorites. She doesn't, let Kit skate by just because she's her sister. She, even though she doesn't care that much about it, she still takes it seriously while she's playing.
She even says like Dottie knows too. Like you can tell because she makes that comment when she's packing to leave, and she was like, well, if something goes wrong with your packing, you know who to blame. So she's like, she knows that it's not her fault. She just needs somebody to blame, and Dottie's the person that she blames for everything.
Right.
Yeah. And you can see like the look on, like I watched this time when Lowenstein comes to tell them that the Life reporter is there and they're going to be taking pictures, and he starts like puffing up Dottie and telling her how awesome she is, and Kit goes, what did you tell about me? He's like, oh yeah, I told them that Dottie wouldn't even come if they didn't bring you. So
yeah,
which
like, what is wrong with him? Why would he say that?
Like obviously Kit looks upset, but Dottie looks very like embarrassed and like, oh,
like,
why did you say that? Don't
Right.
like she isn't like, oh, I'm so wonderful. You know, she's never interested in promoting herself. No. She really does want to help Kit. And I think
from the beginning with John Lovitz, she's like, Kit is good. She's a pitcher. She's really good. You know, she's not saying that just because she's her sister. Like she means it.
Yeah, that's how you know, because Dottie, she calls it like she sees it, and when she says Kit doesn't have it anymore, like she's done with this game, it's because that's how she really sees it.
Right.
She's not trying to, Kit has this idea of like, oh, you're trying to keep me down, but she's not. She lifts her up as much as every opportunity she gets. It's just, when she was asked the question and was expected to answer honestly, she was like, yeah, no, you should switch her out.
Right.
So yeah, I love Dottie.
Dottie's great.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
And she looks fantastic. Like, that is the best Gina Davis has ever looked.
Oh my God, her hat at the end.
The hat.
That hat is
I'm obsessed with this time period. All of the clothes, all the hats, the hair. It's all so good.
Oh, yeah. I love the Suds bucket scene. Like, their clothes in that are so fun. Yeah. I love their dancing clothes and their saddle shoes, and it's also great.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to, if we have any left, Jennifer's fun facts and eyebrow wax.
So the facts I wanted to talk about, which I already brought a few of them up, but the one I wanted to talk about was the fact, because there is a show coming up, there actually was a TV show of this. It ran for one season in 1993. None of the big name people came back. Obviously Tom Hanks wasn't in it, but Marla was in it, and Betty Spaghetti, and John Lovitz appears in an episode, and
Gary Marshall.
And Gary Marshall comes back for it too. So obviously it wasn't very well received. I don't know what it was about. I didn't watch it. I don't know. I think it was more sitcom-y. I'm not really sure, but it was not well received. So hopefully this time they get it right, because there is definitely enough material here for a TV show. I think Amazon will do them justice. Yeah. I really hope so.
I actually did watch the first episode of that when it first premiered.
Was it terrible?
Many years ago. It was weird because they cast people who didn't look anything like Kit was back on the Peaches. And Dottie came back for another season because her husband re-enlisted in the army, which we knew from the movie's narrative that didn't happen. They say she only played 1 year, and Bob got his foot shut off, so he obviously can't go back in the army.
Right.
But like you were saying, it was a 30-minute show. They treated it like a sitcom. I think it even had a laugh track, but it wasn't filmed in front of a live studio audience. And I don't remember anything interesting baseball-wise happening.
Okay.
It was mostly them having situations not involved with the game. It's like, oh, we just got back from the game and now so-and-so has a date with this dude. It was just not a very interesting way to adapt the movie.
Okay.
You need all of I think to make this successful, you would need all of the elements to make it a thing.
Right.
And they tried to just be like, oh, well, let's just show what they do when they're in that boarding house.
Okay, got it.
So it wasn't very fun.
When, they want to piss on Helen's hat. Poor Helen.
Poor Helen and her hat. Has anyone seen my new red hat? Okay, so any other thoughts about eyebrows or hair?
No, I think I covered my thoughts. The movie did it for me, so props to that weird red eyebrow lady for calling it out.
All right, let's do the What Do You Mean You've Never Seen Awards section. Okay, Emily, you're the guest, so you get the big question. Is this movie better than the Muppet movie?
I've never seen the Muppet movie.
What?
I knew this would happen eventually.
So
I told you, I've never seen... Well, I've seen Muppet Treasure Island, I think was the one that I used to watch when I was...
Oh, dear.
So I don't know.
It's a tough one. I will step in and say it's a tough one. I feel like they're on equal footing because I will watch any of them.
Yeah.
Or both of them at any time. So I'm going to say it's a tie.
Okay.
All right.
It's a tie. That's a good one. And I guess we'll have to have Emily back someday and do the
Muppet
movie.
I guess so.
And then we'll ask, is this better than A League of Their Own? All right. Now, anyone who has any strong feelings about this one, I'm going to open it up to the floor. Who's the winner of this movie and who's the loser of this movie?
This is so hard because big part of me wants to say John Lovitz wins the movie because everything he says is brilliant. But I can't in good conscience give it to a man in a movie full of amazing, strong women.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a cop out and say John Lovitz wins the first half of the movie and the Rockford Peaches win the second half of the movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about you, Max? Anything?
I'd say Kit wins the movie. She's the one who proves herself the way she wanted to in the end, at the very least. It's hard to say that the losing team won, even though you really want to, because they're who we're following and rooting for. But I'd say Kit wins.
I'd say Alice loses because she has to go back to Saskatchewan.
Oh, jeez.
And she gets that giant bruise on her thigh.
Oh, God,
and
that
she
bruise
looks
is hard.
And during that last game, she looks absolutely disgusting.
Well, she doesn't even change her socks, and she gets called out by Tom Hanks. I would not want Tom Hanks to tell me my feet stink. That's embarrassing.
How about you, Emily? Do you have a winner of this movie and a loser?
I agree with Max. Yeah, I feel like Kit, like I was saying earlier, I feel like she really needed that. And she lived in her sister's shadow her whole life, whether it was a shadow when it came to like milking cows or, you know, pretty much anything. It seems like she just wanted
shadow. She's so tall. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. I feel like she really needed that. She needed her moment and she got her moment, whether she got it on purpose or not, you know, which I feel like is actually it's almost like the Inception, like when they spin the thing at the end and they're like, ooh, is it gonna stop? Is it, you don't know.
It's good that it's ambiguous.
Yeah, it's good that it's ambiguous. Yeah. Like you don't know, it's not clear whether she dropped it on purpose or not, but it doesn't matter because she has her moment and she gets carried away. I love that they did that whole thing.
Victorious.
So
yeah.
She gets those little girls that look up to her and everything.
Yeah.
She signs their autographs. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm going to give honorable mention to Helen because she spends the entire movie getting shat on.
Yeah.
And then she becomes a doctor.
She
then,
does.
oddly enough, Dottie's like, she tells her, I'm a doctor. She's suddenly British also. I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. And Gina Davis is like, I always knew you would be. And we're like
based
you did?
on what? Yeah. No, one
That must
thing
have
that was one last dig at her though. She was like, yeah, it's not that impressive. I always knew you would be. You know what I mean? Like she was getting a one last like dig at her.
One thing I have to bring up, because this is the one thing in this movie that I feel like bothers me, is why is there even a playoffs when there's only 4 teams? Like Dottie says, this was a big game. It got us into the playoffs. What playoffs? There's only 4 of them. Like, is the playoffs only 3 teams? And that's the playoffs?
The playoffs.
That's a little confusing to me.
Yeah.
Like, and like, why? Like, were they doing that badly that one game made a difference up to that point? Because I thought they were doing pretty good. That part doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, it's very minor. It doesn't really matter.
There you go. All right, Panelist Choice Awards. So everybody gets to pick one character, place, or plot from this movie and give them the best whatever. Like, say, I'm going to give Tom Hanks the best spitting award because he spits that chew.
So
like,
gross.
And he even gets Dottie into it too.
The whole movie, it's so gross.
I'm gonna give best dancing to Madonna and Carmine Raguso from Happy Days because their dancing
Laverne
is
and Shirley.
Great. Oh, Laverne and Shirley. He was on Happy Days, I'm sure, at some point. Anyway, Carmine Raguso, whatever the actor's name is, and Madonna, they do such good dancing, and it's so cute, and it really amounts to nothing in the end because it's not really part of the plot, but it's so great, and I love it, and I could watch it all day.
I'm going to give the best simp award to Rosie O'Donnell's fans in the crowd, the 2 guys. Great simps, love to see them. 10 out of 10.
They're cute.
Oh yeah,
They were Doris Stans in the stands. Ha!
Doris stands in the stands.
All right, Emily, what's your award?
I think I'm going to go back to the scene of the bus driver, just the whole scene of him leaving and then throwing the dirt in her face. It was so just ridiculous.
Best quitting goes to the bus.
Yeah, right. Best quitting, best, like, I don't know, like, just dramatically comedic scene.
And that's the only time we see him. Like, we don't know anything about this bus driver.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a hell of an entrance and an exit.
Oh yeah,
for real.
He does a lot with very little, honestly.
Best dramatic performance goes to the bus driver.
Hopefully the TV series is just about him. It's from his
he
perspective.
needs at least a whole episode to himself.
Oh, yeah.
He
for
wasn't
sure.
in the Hall of Fame. We didn't see like where he ended up with his life, if he's dead or alive. What happened to the
It would
bus
be
driver?
crazy if he was in the Hall of Fame at the end. If they were just
Mr.
like,
Lowenstein, best bus driver.
hey,
I was just
No,
going to say,
no.
what was his
Like
name? They say his-
Gusatelli.
Oh, Gusatelli. Who's Lowenstein?
That's
the
David
other guy.
Strathairn's character.
Mr. Gusatelli.
Yeah, I
Oh.
was going to say, he does have a name because they say his name and Tom Hanks is like,
Lou.
who?
Lou.
Yeah.
Who's Lou?
Who's Lou? Oh my God. gosh.
Lou
I love it.
Gusatelli.
All right. Anyone have a really good rating for this movie? What you're going to do is pick a metric that's related to it, and then how many out of 5. I'm going to give this movie 5 out of 5 candy bars stuck to the bottom of Rosie O'Donnell's cleat. Because that's a very memorable moment.
I'm going to give 5 out of 5 mitts thrown in Stillwell Angel's face.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to give this movie 4.9 out of 5 hats that I will piss in.
Oh my God. Those were all so good. I don't know. I will give it 4.5 out of 5 of Dottie dramatically dropping the baseball.
So good.
Drop the baseballs. That's a good one.
That is a gut-wrenching moment.
Yeah, just that one specific one. Just the dramatic opening of the hand and
Yeah.
dropping.
And they kind of like replay it like dun, 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 like you see it like a couple times in that.
Yeah, from different angles.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our discussion of this movie. Do we have any final thoughts? Anyone have any like last tidbits that they want to share before we
I'm just so
say
excited
goodbye?
for the TV show because I love this movie and I could
Gonna
just
be
do
great.
with more A League of Their Own content. I want to know one tiny little scene that's in the movie that I think we'll probably get more of is the African American woman who like
Yes.
throws the ball really hard.
Yes.
I think there might be more kind of stuff like that in the TV show based on the previews.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more of that.
And we'll probably
inclusion?
we'll get more inclusion there. We'll probably get more of the gay stuff that was not allowed in the 90s.
Are you talking about lesbians?
Lesbians. We're not gonna forget about the lesbians this time. It'll be great.
Any other final thoughts before we move on?
No, Marla gets married. You know, that's great. Good
Yeah.
for her.
Good for her. I love that.
Dottie's
for her.
got that hat. And
That
nobody's
hat
gonna
is
piss on that
fabulous.
hat.
That hat, no, do not.
I do have a question, actually. The very end, when Dottie and Kit, I get that they're trying to make it dramatic because you don't know if they've made up and if they still see each other, but it's still not very clear. The way that they see each other and then like embrace like so dramatically, I'm like, have they really not seen each other this
I
entire
don't think that we're
time?
supposed to think they haven't seen each other since then, but it's
Because-
been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then one of the little girls
to
says
her daughter.
Yeah, she's like, "Is that Aunt Dottie?" And
Yeah.
so like the kids know her.
Well, in the beginning,
Yeah.
when Dottie's talking to her daughter about it, and she's like, "Oh, that husband of hers, Frank." So it's like I get the feeling that they see
yeah.
each other occasionally,
Yeah.
but they don't go out. And I think that neither one of them thought the other one was going to be at that event. So that's why
I
they were
just feel like
surprised
they
to see
would've
each other. Which I
talked
don't know
about it.
why.
They didn't
I don't
talk
know
about
why
it.
Dottie was surprised to see Kit, but she says.
And Kit
Yeah.
was like, "I'm so glad you came."
But
I
I
was
think
like, "Why didn't
Kit-
you guys talk
I
about
think
the
Kit
fact?"
is supposed to be like traveling a lot. Maybe she's retired. Like she's supposed to be traveling a lot with her husband.
yeah.
So I think that's why maybe Dottie thinks
Yeah,
she
and
wants.
Yeah.
I get the impression that they have never been as close as they were prior to this. Like
Right.
the year,
yeah.
like the time they
I
spent
think
together
Kit
on
does
the Peaches.
stay like kind of in the Midwest, and
Yeah.
Dottie goes back to Oregon.
Yeah, so I think the time they were together on the Peaches was like the last time that they were like really
That close.
spent a lot of time together and
Yeah.
were very close.
Or even lived near each other.
But hopefully they've gone on to further adventures as old ladies.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Maybe they like Golden Girls that after Frank died.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Pullman already died. So.
They should have done like a Golden Girls type show with like them and Marla and Marla Helen as a doctor.
Helen, yeah.
Dr. Helen.
I'm a doctor now.
I'm a doctor. She's also looks like she's about 100
And
years
Ellen
old.
Sue marries a plastic surgeon. So
Oh, I
that's
love
great.
older Ellen Sue. She's
Yeah.
so fun.
I like her
And
Gatorade hat.
Rosie O'Donnell lives next door and just like pops in every day and just like she's like the Kimmy Gibbler of their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
exactly.
gosh, yes.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
Be amazing.
I would watch that movie.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
this has been so much fun.
Amazing.
I love watching this movie. I love talking about this movie. So we're very excited that Emily has made this episode possible for us
Yes.
to do this without
Thank
breaking
you
our
for
rules.
never having seen this till today. I'm glad you liked it.
Yes, I did enjoy it. Thank you for forcing me to watch this movie.
Oh, it's what we
You
do and we
are
love doing it.
I loved it.
You're very welcome.
Yes. So, Emily, is there any information you want to put out there? Like, do you have any? Do you want people to follow you anywhere, or
No,
you got anything you want to plug?
I don't want anyone to follow me.
Okay.
Don't follow me.
So yeah.
Just
No.
go see your show at
Yeah.
Disney Springs.
Come see
Yeah.
Drawn to Life at Disney Springs.
Hashtag Drawn to Life.
Hashtag Drawn to Life.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for being here. We really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having
Thanks for
me.
coming over, and we look forward to having you back for Back to the Future.
Ooh.
Way down the line, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all will see and hear from Emily again. So we're excited to have her
Yes.
joining our little podcast family.
Yay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, that's our show. On behalf of my co-hosts and myself, I want to thank our listeners for joining us each week and for liking, subscribing, downloading, and leaving 5-star reviews. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can send us an email at whatdoyoumeanyou'veneverseen@gmail.com or check the description of this episode for links to social media. We love engaging with our fans. Please send us an email, DM, or tweet. Goodbye for now. Goodbye, Jonathan and Max.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for
See you
listening.
next time.
This episode of What Do You Mean You've Never Seen was edited by Jonathan Colon and Max Abelman. Our episodes and digital content are produced by Max Abelman. Your hosts are our writer, Jonathan Colon, producer, Max Abelman, and head of social media and community outreach, Jennifer Branch. All artwork for our show is created by James Alexander with Pleasant View Designs. Check the links in the description below for more information on how to follow the show and subscribe to our Patreon. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you at the movies.